How We Tame the Dog, From Apex Predator to Couch Potato. Chapter 1. The Ice Age Meet Cute. Look at a modern dog, a pug for instance. A creature with eyes looking in slightly different directions, a face that looks like it ran full speed into a brick wall, and a respiratory system that sounds like a deflating accordion. Now, consider the fact that if you track this creature's family tree back roughly 30,000 years, you don't find a smaller, cuter pug. You find a terrifying 800-pound pack of apex predators tearing through the freezing tundra of the Ice Age. You find the gray wolf. How on earth did we get here? How did a majestic, bloodthirsty killing machine look at a species of hairless, anxious primates and think, yeah, I want to sleep on their orthopedic foam beds and wear a knitted seasonal sweater? Welcome to 2D Timelines. Today we are tracing the multi-millennial evolutionary pipeline of man's best friend. And spoiler alert, it wasn't a case of humans kidnapping wolf pups and forcing them to fetch sticks. It was a massive accidental business partnership based entirely on lazy eating habits and sheer survival. To understand the origin of the dog, we have to travel back to a world covered in glaciers, where humans were not the top of the food chain. We were just a bunch of cold, highly stressed hunter-gatherers huddled around primitive campfires, desperately trying not to get stomped on by a woolly mammoth or eaten by a saber-toothed cat. And patrolling the perimeter of these camps were wolves. Now, back then, wolves and humans were direct corporate competitors. We hunted the same game, tracked the same herds, and generally tried to avoid each other. But individual wolves, much like individual humans, have different personalities. Some wolves were highly aggressive, fiercely territorial, and would try to bite a human's face off on sight. Those wolves did not become dogs. Those wolves kept doing wolf stuff. Instead, our story starts with the misfits. The slightly more relaxed, lower anxiety wolves who realized that chasing a massive, angry bison through a blizzard was a lot of hard work. They noticed that humans were incredibly messy eaters. We would kill a mammoth, eat the prime cuts, and toss the heavy, fat-rich bones and scraps into a garbage pile just outside our camp perimeter. A few brave, lazy wolves looked at that trash pile and realized they could get a free 5-star buffet without doing any of the cardio. They started lingering just outside the firelight, acting as the world's first automated biological waste management system. Chapter 2. Self-Domestication and the Ultimate Exchange Rate. This introduces a process known to evolutionary biologists as self-domestication. Humans didn't domesticate wolves. The friendlier wolves domesticated themselves. Over generations, the wolves that didn't growl or snap at humans were allowed to get closer and closer to the trash pile. The aggressive ones got a spear thrown at them. Naturally, the friendly wolves survived more often, had more babies, and passed down their, hey, humans aren't so bad, genetics to the next generation. And pretty soon, humans realized that having these giant, furry security guards hanging around the camp was actually a massive tactical advantage. If a giant cave bear tried to sneak into the camp at night to turn a human family into midnight snacks, the trash pile wolves would bark their heads off, alerting the humans and waking everyone up. Suddenly, a beautiful, unwritten contract was signed between two entirely different species. The terms were simple. Humans provided guaranteed caloric security in the form of leftovers. Wolves provided a high-tech radar defense system, tracking assistance during hunts, and free thermal blankets during freezing Ice Age nights. It was the ultimate historical trade deal. As these friendly wolves spent thousands of years sitting closer to the fire, their biology began to do something genuinely bizarre. When you breed animals for friendliness and low aggression, their bodies stop producing as much adrenaline. And when adrenaline levels drop, a cascade of physical changes follows. This is called domestication syndrome. Slowly, over generations, the terrifying traits of the wild wolf started to melt away. Their massive, bone-crushing jaws shrank because they didn't need to hunt giant game anymore. Their ears, which used to stand rigidly upright to track prey across miles of tundra, started to flop over, making them look significantly less intimidating and a lot more huggable. Their coats started developing splotchy, uneven patterns instead of uniform, wild camouflage. And for the first time in canine history, they started wagging their tails to communicate joy. The terrifying predator was officially being overwritten by the early prototype of the family pet. Chapter 3. The Selective Breeding Madhouse. By the time the Ice Age ended and humans invented agriculture, these proto-dogs were fully integrated into human society. We stopped moving around and settled into villages, and that's when humans looked at their new furry companions and decided to take the evolutionary steering wheel. We entered the era of selective breeding. For the first few thousand years, our breeding goals were entirely practical. We needed dogs to do specific jobs to keep our societies running. If a village had a lot of sheep, they would take the smartest, most hyper-focused dogs, breed them together, and create herding champions like the ancestors of the border collie. If a kingdom had a major pest problem, they would breed tiny, aggressive, long-bodied dogs that could dive face-first into a hole in the ground and wage war on rats, giving us the terriers and dachshunds. If you needed to guard a palace, you bred for sheer mass, giving rise to giant mastiffs that looked like small horses. If you were an aristocrat who wanted to hunt rabbits at 60 miles an hour, you bred for aerodynamic, toothpick-legged speed, creating the greyhound. Every single dog breed on Earth today, from a Great Dane to a Chihuahua, shares the exact same internal operating system. They are all genetically classified as Canis lupus familiaris. We just took their DNA and stretched it, shrank it, and molded it like biological Play-Doh to fit our economic needs. But then, the Victorian era arrived, and humanity collectively lost its mind. In the 19th century, wealthy elites in Europe decided that dogs shouldn't just be functional workplace assets anymore. They decided that dogs should be a high-fashion status symbol. Dog shows became the ultimate playground for the rich, and the criteria for breeding shifted from how well can this dog herd sheep to how incredibly specific and bizarre can we make this animal look. Chapter 4. The Invention of the Couch Potato. This is the exact historical turning point where we actively broke the wolf blueprint. Breeders became obsessed with aesthetic extremes. If a dog had a slightly shorter snout, they would breed it with another short-snouted dog to make it even flatter. If a dog had wrinkly skin, they wanted a dog that looked like a folded-up laundry basket. And that brings us right back to our friend, the modern pug. Pugs were explicitly bred to be the ultimate aristocrat lap warmers. They didn't need to run, they didn't need to hunt, and they certainly didn't need to guard a perimeter from cave bears. They were engineered to sit on a silk cushion and look cute. But in doing so, we compressed their skulls so severely that their teeth barely fit in their mouths, and their nasal passages became an absolute architectural disaster. The modern pug is a living, breathing testament to human vanity and the terrifying power of genetic manipulation. And yet, despite the biological anomalies we've created, the core psychological bond between humans and dogs remains completely unbroken. We took a creature that was genetically hardwired to hunt us down in the dark, and through 30,000 years of shared campfires, leftovers, and mutual trust, we turned them into an extension of our own families. Today, dogs can read human facial expressions better than almost any other animal on the planet. They have evolved specialized muscles around their eyes just to make puppy dog eyes, an expression wild wolves cannot actually make, explicitly designed to manipulate human emotions into giving them a piece of cheese. They know when we are sad, they celebrate when we walk through the front door after being gone for 5 minutes, and they have successfully conquered the world by convincing us to do all the hunting and gathering for them. So the next time your dog does something completely ridiculous, like barking at a plastic bag blowing in the wind, or getting its head stuck in a cereal box, just remember their incredible journey. Inside that goofy, pampered couch, Potato is the ancient soul of a majestic Ice Age predator that looked at our ancestors' garbage pile and made the smartest executive decision in the history of animal kingdom economics. If you enjoyed this deep dive into how we turned wolves into toddlers in fur coats, do us a massive favor. Hit that subscribe button, smash the like button, and leave a comment letting us know which animal, historical era, or deep piece of lore we should break down on the whiteboard next. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next timeline.